first off, congratulations. I absolutely adore your movie.
Yeah.
Adele, my first question is for you. Was writing for the animated feature format always a goal of yours, or did this opportunity kind of come out of the blue?
It came out of the clear blue sky, and I am so excited that it did. You know, I grew up in Malaysia. I grew up watching Disney movies, and I don't think it was in my wildest dreams that I thought I'd be, helping to write on one. But the idea that I was going to be part of creating, the next Disney warrior princess and have the culture be inspired by where I grew up, like, that's crazy. So anyway, the 8-year-old in me would have just shrieked with delight.
And would be so proud of you now. I still can't get over this story. What would you say was the biggest lesson learned, or maybe the most challenging pivot to make when it comes from going from writing for live action to writing for animation?
Strangely, because most of my career was as a TV writer, it actually was the perfect sort of transition and fit. I think for feature writers, you have this idea of feature writers, on their laptops by themselves at a coffee shop, and that could not be further from the truth when it comes to feature animation. It is incredibly collaborative. So instead of going into a room with a big table and surrounded by writers, I'm surrounded by the most talented story artists in the world. So even when it came to breaking story, and we have all these pictures of like thousands of cards pinned up on the wall, coming up with like what the big themes of the story are, who the individual characters are, what their arcs are going to be. I had all these teammates in the story department. And even in the writing of it, I'd write a scene, and then, Von Veersunthorn would take it and, put in all these amazing visual ideas and dynamics and even lines, because these story artists, what I hadn't realized, they're cinematographers and directors and writers. So being able to be inspired by their voice, I would write to that, and then they would write to my script. So it is this sort of cyclical, process of inspiration, that is tremendous, that you don't have to do it alone as a writer. Thank God.
So, Osnat, now I believe this is your second feature as a full producer on the production. So is there any tool in your producing toolkit, so to speak, that you would credit with having worked on Moana that you're now applying to Raya?
Yeah, I think there are quite a few, actually. One of the most important things, I think, though, was discovering a way that worked for us to work with experts, cultural experts from the region. We had the Oceanic Story Trust on Moana. I'm still in touch with almost everyone on it because these great friendships formed. And so we applied that with our Southeast Asia Story Trust as well. We had a visual cultural anthropologist, which is so interesting. Their sort of expertise is the visual representation of anything within culture. He's Lao, but his knowledge is throughout the region. And we had so many experts like that joined us along the way. I think there are a million tools, though, because the truth is that you really do have to trust the process when it's a process this long. It sometimes feels like you're going backwards. We try something, we push against some idea, and then we do a screening with our story trust, and oops, we went too far in one direction or another. You have to trust that we're always getting there, making something better and better and better. And once you've done it once, you can trust it that much more easily.
Was there any point in this process where there was a new idea being implemented and you're like, I don't know about this, I don't know if it's going to work, and then all of a sudden later on it clicked and you saw that was the right move for the story and the characters?
That happens so often in all parts of the story process, because we put it up, we break it all down. And sometimes you get attached to an old idea, and, when a brave new idea is put forth. I think a great example is, to give credit to Don Hall, this idea of the ending and what that act of trust, is going to look like in the climax of the movie. And there are many stories about, pulling people together for a common goal. But if the underlying message is about trust, how do we show that in the last heroic move? It's not about being the biggest, strongest warrior in the room. Raya and Namari could easily be that, but it is this ultimate act of sacrifice and showing that you are this person who is worthy of being trusted. And Raya, who has no reason to trust anyone after being betrayed so much, she still finds the strength to reach out because she is the hero of that movie. I think it was the idea of that, and then having the incredibly talented John Ripa, our co-director, put up those boards, and we all saw it and immediately were struck by the emotionality of that moment. I think that was the prime example of like having a very hard to work around concept intellectually, and then seeing it realized and seeing that it worked better than anything you could have thought of.
I think for me, it's less something that I didn't think would work. It's more something that I didn't think we'd get away with, which was having three strong, interesting, nuanced female leads and exploring at the very heart of a major feature, a friendship between two female characters, and even that opposition kind of friendship relationship that Raya has with Namari. So nobody ever said no, and so it's something that we pushed on, and Adele and I in particular could not be more excited about.
Just a last to add on to that, which was, I think we, because Ozna and I got so excited about, creating these characters. At one point, we actually looked up and realized that, oh, all our characters are female, including Tong, started as a female character. And I never thought we'd ever be in this position of thinking, well, maybe, for equity, we need to have one more male character.
What was it like formulating that group of heroes that we see together throughout the movie? Was there any kind of mixing and matching along the way, adding and subtracting, anything like that?
Yeah, there was a young baby Noi. She started off as Tong. Actually, Tong was a grandmother, as the grandchild, and they were together. She was a warrior baby. She already had that tough thing that we love so much about her. And we realized as we looked at it that at that point we had the Ongis, were the monkey kind of characters, the main characters from Talon, and we wanted a human character there, and came up with the idea of how she works with them. Boone was somewhere else to begin with, and we moved him. They evolved, and we thought of him as, the Han Solo. He's the getaway. The getaway car is our shrimporium, and all those parallels, the way we talk in shorthand with each other. But it was super fun to come up with them, and when they landed, and especially when a voice actor would come in, like Benedict Wong came in and brought Tong to life, and you knew, okay, we're really onto something.
Pitch perfect casting.
Right?
Adele, I did have one off-topic question for you, because what you did on the Crazy Rich Asians sequel is, I imagine, a very scary thing to do, but it's also a very important stand to make. So for any other writer out there who might run into a similar situation, given the fact that you've already gone through it, what would you advise them to do?
I think you can only speak to your truth. With what Crazy Rich and similar to Raya, it has done so much for Asian representation. And, you want to be able to have people behind the scenes as well, telling those stories. There's, it all comes down to a saying we have for underrepresented communities, like no stories about us without us. And so, I think Disney's great credit. It's not just me and my co-writer, Kui Gwen, but we had so many people from Southeast Asia or had Southeast Asian cultural roots already in the Disney family with our story department, visual development, in animation, who are able to give that layer of authenticity and, dedication and love to the project. And so really that's what you love to see. And hopefully, the whole industry is, striving towards a more diverse and accurate reflection of the world we live in today, with faces in front of and behind the screen.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you both so much for your time today. My 1.5-year-old niece is obsessed with Moana, and I am determined to make Raya next on that list.
Awesome.
Love it.